Hi, welcome back. I'm John McKeel, and I'm the author of the little book, Peter, the Friend of Jesus Speaks. It's a short commentary on the little epistle of 1 Peter. Let's jump right into the text as we talk about being stewards of God's grace. Since therefore Christ suffered in the flesh, arm yourselves with the same way of thinking, for whoever has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin, so as to live for the rest of the time in the flesh, no longer for human passions, but for the will of God. For the time that is past suffices for doing what the Gentiles do, living in sensuality, passions, drunkenness, orgies, drinking parties, and lawless idolatry. With respect to this, they are surprised when you do not join them in the same flood of debauchery, and they malign you. But they will give account to him who is ready to judge the living and the dead. For this is why the gospel was preached even to those who are dead, that though judged in the flesh, the way people are, they might live in the spirit the way God does. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 1 through 6. When the apostle Peter says Christ suffered in the flesh, is he talking about Christ's incarnation? Jesus left heaven's glory and became human. Philippians chapter 2, verses 6 through 11. But is it natural to describe life on planet Earth as suffering? Perhaps in contrast to heaven, life here is suffering. But on the other hand, it seems more likely Peter is referring to Christ's experience of the cross, where he suffered and died. The people Peter wrote to were suffering. Did Jesus understand what was happening to them? Of course Jesus knew what was happening. Christ suffered first, and therefore it should come as no surprise that his followers would too. If we can understand how Jesus was able to endure, then it will help us endure too. The key is perspective. Peter admonished them to, quote, arm yourselves with the same way of thinking. Jesus was able to endure because he could see beyond the present troubles. We need to do the same thing. Peter explains what this means by giving examples of the opposite lifestyle, doing what the Gentiles do. The apostle lists several examples of their wicked behavior, beginning with sensuality. Sensuality describes a lack of self-constraint. It involves one in conduct that violates all bounds of what is socially acceptable. Self-abandonment. Paul warned the Ephesians they've become callous and have given themselves up to sensuality, greedy to practice every kind of impurity. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 19. Jude, the younger brother of James, does the very same thing. For certain people have crept in unnoticed who long ago were destined for this condemnation. Ungodly people who pervert the grace of our God into sensuality and deny our only Master and Lord, Jesus Christ. Jude verse 4. In his second letter, Peter acknowledges this kind of behavior is a strong temptation. Quote, and many will follow their sensuality, and because of them, the way of truth will be blasphemed. 2 Peter 2, verse 2. And again he says, for speaking loud boast of folly, they entice by sensual passions of the flesh those who are barely escaping from those who live in error. They promise them freedom, but they themselves are slaves of corruption. For whatever overcomes a person, to that he's enslaved. 2 Peter chapter 2, verses 18 and 19. The Apostle Paul encourages, let us walk properly, as in the daytime, not in orgies and drunkenness, not in sexual immorality and sensuality, not in quarreling and jealousy. Romans 13:13. Jesus taught his disciples to guard their hearts because For from within, out of the heart of man come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person. Mark chapter 7, verses 21 and 23. Peter goes on to talk about passions. Passion can have a morally neutral sense, expressing simple desire. The Apostle Paul told the Philippians, I'm hard-pressed between the two. My desire is to depart and be with Christ, for that is far better. Desire. But passions can also refer to lust, the desire for something forbidden. Quote, but each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. James chapter 1, verse 14. Put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you, sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. Paul writing to the Colossians in chapter 3, verse 5. And Peter says, having escaped from the corruption that is in the world because of sinful desires, 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 4. In this list of evil, Peter goes on to talk about drunkenness. This is the only place in the entire New Testament where this word is found. It comes from the combination of two words meaning bubble up, referring to the mindless babble that pours from a drunk's mouth. Peter goes on to warn about orgies. Originally, this term described a festal procession in honor of Dionysius, and then to a banquet where the wine flows. In Jewish and Christian texts, it only appears with a bad sense. For example, in the apocryphal Wisdom of Solomon, it is connected with the worship of idols. Quote, then it was not enough for them to err about the knowledge of God, but though living in great strife, due to ignorance, they call such great evils peace. For whether they kill children in their initiations or celebrate secret mysteries or hold frenzied revels with strange customs, they no longer keep either their lives or their marriages pure, but they even treacherously kill one another or grieve one another by adultery. And all is a raging riot of blood and murder, theft and deceit, corruption, faithlessness, tumult, perjury, confusion over what is good, forgetfulness of favors, defiling of souls, sexual perversion, disorder in marriages, adultery and debauchery. For the worship of idols, not to be named, is the beginning and cause and end of every evil. The Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verses 22 through 27. The Apostle Paul warns, let us walk properly as in the daytime, not in orgies and drunkenness, not in sexual immorality and sensuality, not in quarreling and jealousy. Romans 13:13. Now the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, fits of anger, rivalries, dissensions, divisions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and things like this. I warn you, as I warned you before, that those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. Paul writing to the Galatians, chapter 5, verses 19 through 21. Well, let's go on in Peter's list of sins to talk about drinking parties. Again, this is the only place in the New Testament where this word is found, and initially it merely described a banquet where wine served to loosen people's tongues. Later it came to mean carousals, where people could blame their bad behavior on drinking. You can read more about that in Proverbs 23, verses 29 through 35. Josephus uses this word to describe a party Samson attended. Next comes lawless idolatry. The dictionaries describe this word as pertaining to violating the canons of decency, wanton, disgusting, unseemly. Another difficult passage, Peter sadly reports, their neighbors expected them to join in, and they malign you for naught. But the apostle reminds the Christians those neighbors will give an account for their behavior. For this is why the gospel was preached even to those who are dead, that though judged in the flesh the way people are, they might live in the spirit the way God does. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 6. This passage is used to prove that Jesus, while he was in the grave, preached to the dead. However, it seems much more reasonable to apply it to the situation facing Peter's readers. Some of them might ask, why should we bother preaching? So Peter explains, because they will give an account to him who is ready to judge the living and the dead, the spiritually alive and the spiritually dead. This is why the gospel is preached even to those who are spiritually dead. And so we've received the warning from Peter in our lesson today. We need to live pure lives. Let's lay aside all of the evil, the drunkenness, the orgies, the sensuality, all that goes along with that drag us down. And let's live pure and holy lives that are acceptable to God and reflect great glory on our family name. God bless everybody. Thanks for joining us for this section. We'll see you in the next lesson.